Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. So let's momentarily turn attention from the collapse of democratic accountability in the UK to the United States, though it actually only makes me feel worse rather than better. So the Mueller Report into conspiracy with Russia over the 2016 presidential elections and obstruction of this investigation has been released to the public, albeit with large sections redacted for various reasons. Now, as soon as it was announced that the report was finished, Donald Trump immediately exulted loudly that it exonerated him of all wrongdoing and that it was proof that the investigation was just a witch hunt. Trump later admitted that he'd never even read the report, as if we'd believe that a guy still writing in crayon would read such a weighty tome. This was a narrative that was kept up, though. Trump supporters saying over and over again that the report exonerates Trump when the report hadn't even been published yet, when they hadn't even read a single line of it. I had people saying that to me on Twitter and various other places, and all I could respond was, you haven't even read it yet. But yesterday it was released. And not only does it not exonerate the president, but it says there is plenty of evidence to put him on trial. So is this a victory for those who would like to see Trump put away for this and indeed other unspeakable acts? Not necessarily. But let me explain the salient points. Now, the Attorney General, William Barr, summarised the report ahead of its publication yesterday. He is supposed to represent the American people, not specifically its president. And yet he lied at the press conference. But then it was Donald Trump who nominated him to the role. He said that the report fully exonerates the president. And that's all his supporters will ever bother to find out. But what does that say just above my head? Now, the report is a whopping 450 pages long, and it would be easy to go on for some time about what it contains, but I'll go through the main points. I should also need to point out for anyone else wanting to study it, for which there is a link in the description below, that due to all the redactions, the PDF is really an image, so you have to do a scan to be able to actually search keywords and terms for cross-referencing. That took a little while. Anyway, I'd also like to say that I know most people, of course, will not read such a large document. I do not blame you. But I would urge everyone to at least read the first 2 pages. Just those 2. It doesn't tell you everything you need to know, but it does blow away the lie that this report exonerates the president. First of all, this was a criminal investigation, and the report makes clear that the term collusion, which was so often used in the press, was used a great deal, but does not in itself constitute a crime. Just as well, because collusion was pretty obvious from this report, even if you didn't believe it before. The legal emphasis was on conspiracy as defined in federal law. But in terms of what we wanted to know, the report made clear 3 things. 1, the Russian state actively interfered with the presidential election. Specifically, that they worked to hinder Clinton and help Trump. This is a fact way beyond reasonable doubt. Now, regardless of whether or not Trump was a knowing and willing beneficiary of this aid from an unfriendly nation, surely the American people should wonder why the head of an unfriendly foreign power who has been working to destabilise the West should want Donald Trump as president. Shouldn't they ask themselves that question? And also, shouldn't they be demanding that action be taken to ensure that it doesn't happen in 2020 as well? No, that doesn't seem to be a narrative coming out of anywhere. 2, it says that President Trump did obstruct justice. He attempted to obstruct the investigation. Now, there were quite a few specific instances of this identified in the report, which again put it beyond reasonable doubt. He attempted to have Robert Mueller fired. When he failed, he told lawyers to conceal the fact that he'd ever tried to get him fired. He tried to influence witnesses in the investigation. William Barr, the Attorney General, who, in an act of utter betrayal to his post, lied in a press conference for the president, was one of the people who blocked charges from resulting from the evidence in the report as well. Even people who had defended Barr up to this point were climbing over themselves after reading the report to denounce him. His description of the report is so completely at odds with the contents that it represented indefensible misleading of the American public. Literally nobody who reads this report can think President Trump is innocent of the charges. And nobody who even reads, well, that paragraph, much less the first 2 pages, can possibly think it exonerates him, because it specifically says that it does not. but almost nobody will read it. And they know that. Not even the first 2 pages. In this era of Trump, reading, science, the environment and the truth are the 4 pillars of evil. And the third thing it tells us is that President Trump and his team did likely coordinate with Russian figures with links to President Putin. I mean, we already knew that. Several people have already been charged, tried, convicted and jailed as a result of this investigation. The idea that this report, even without reading it, would ever exonerate the person at the top of all this was ridiculous. Now, quite late on in the report was a section detailing written questions for Trump and his responses. Now, on most of the questions, he simply said, I can't remember. Now, for some things, of course, you can't remember something 2 years later. Ask someone what they had for breakfast 2 years ago, and of course that's beyond them, because that's a common or garden event. It's not particularly remarkable. But some of the questions were about conversations of criminal wrongdoing. Now, to say that you can't remember whether or not those conversations took place in your presence, even 2 years earlier, is to suggest that you take part in this sort of skullduggery on such a regular basis. You can't possibly remember this specific one. I do it all the time. No. And as to the question about why he publicly asked Russia to hack into systems, American systems, and grab Hillary Clinton's emails, something which of course they did, he just replied, well, I was joking, wasn't I? I didn't think they'd really do it. Now, the report states that Mueller wanted to interview Trump and not let him just put non-answers down on a bit of paper with lots of time for his lawyers to think of them. But the legal challenges to interviewing the president against his will were considered too great, so he was not able to do that. The only question anyone might have had of the report is, why is Mueller not recommending charges for Trump then? You know, is it because he can't link him personally to these crimes? No. And the report doesn't say that charges are not recommended, but simply that Mueller himself cannot press those charges. And his supporters will doubtless say that the report doesn't prove his guilt. Well, no, of course not. We know how the law works. It's worth bearing in mind because sometimes people forget, and they seem to be forgetting in this instance. It's not for an investigation to prove guilt or innocence. It's not for the police to do that. We know whose job it is to do that. It's for an investigation to gather evidence of criminality and then to suggest that the evidence is either strong enough for charges to be pressed or not. And even then, police, and the FBI in this case are police, do not really press the charges. They recommend charges be pressed. They recommend to a prosecutor that charges be pressed. It's for a trial to determine guilt or reasonable doubt of guilt. Now, the report makes crystal clear that the president is not proven innocent of the charges as early as page 2 of the report. So far from exonerating the president, the report says that charges should be brought. But whether those charges be the result of impeachment, for which Congress has to get moving, or through the normal procedures when Donald Trump is no longer a sitting president, is for others to decide. His hands are tied. Again, on page 2 of the report, it notes that were Donald Trump not the sitting president, that he would be charged and put to a public prosecution based on the evidence. However, as president, he says, charging him would make it difficult for him to execute his public duties. It is therefore beyond Mueller's power to charge him. This is something only the House of Representatives can do through impeachment, or at least they can start impeachment proceedings. Naturally, impeachment would fail because the vote will pay no attention to the evidence. It'll be conducted along party lines. It'll be purely political, and the Democrats don't have the numbers. But they have to do it anyway. If they don't, Donald Trump gets to say to all those hundreds of millions of Americans who will not read the report that he was exonerated. It's what he's already doing. It's what he's been doing for weeks before anyone read the report. Even the Democrats know that because they won't impeach him, is what he'll say. It will fail, but they have to start those proceedings. Force Republicans to actively vote against a criminal president being brought to account. Force them individually to vote for the president to be above the law. The impeachment can happen. The House of Representatives has the Democrat numbers, so Trump would be impeached. But the conviction or acquittal would happen with Senate votes, and it has to be a 2/3 voting majority. In the Senate, Republicans not only have more than a third, they actually still have a majority. So there's no way the conviction would happen unless it would need more than a couple of Republicans to sweat over it and think, do you know what, I don't want my name going down in history as defending the indefensible. it would need quite a lot of them. I can't see it happening. But the public would be treated to the truth of Mueller's report. So it has to take place regardless of the end result. So are Democrats planning on impeaching the president? I'm sad to say that I'm not seeing reports of that at the moment. However, they have requested that Mueller testify before Congress about his work. Now, this may be a prelude to impeachment. Perhaps they simply wish to ask the very straightforward question, is the evidence of your investigation strong enough to bring criminal charges against President Trump? Regardless of what questions Republicans may have to try and muddy the waters, perhaps Democrats just simply need him to state, in what would be a heavily publicised response, what he says in the report for anyone to read it, but no sod will, that were Donald Trump not president, he'd already be in court. So the report makes clear that there is evidence to charge Trump, and that if Congress doesn't deal with him, then the second he is no longer president, he will be facing those charges. No wonder Donald Trump is now saying that he wants to be president for more than 2 terms. So anyway, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content, comment down below as well. Until next time, I'll see you later.